Tonight, I'm going to relate a story that begins with the genocide of a native people and ends with an attempt to silence one of their survivors and fiercest defenders, namely myself. It is a story of white cultural and economic imperialism in its broadest outlines and of white hegemony and white racism on this campus. Specifically, it is a story of the politics of academic freedom as the politics of white racism. Let me tell you now, first, how a white foreign world, that is the world of the Haole, came to occupy the world of the native, that is the world of Hawaiians. In 1778, a white foreigner came to our land with a pestilential shipload of other foreigners. They wanted women, water, food, and general recreation, for which they gave Hawaiians syphilis, gonorrhea, tuberculosis, and ideas of predatory Christianity, capitalism, and individualism. 42 years later, in 1820, a different class of aggressive Haole, animated by the hatred of all things dark and sexual, brought measles, chicken pox, and a virulent determination to replace the Hawaiian world with the Haole world. They were called missionaries, and they were bent on conversion of my people and the dispossession of our lands and waters. By this time, that is 1820, 750,000 Hawaiians were dead, directly the result of the coming of the Haole. Conveniently for the missionaries, the Hawaiian universe had collapsed under the impact of mass death. The fertile field of conversion was littered with the remnants of Holocaust, a Holocaust created by Haole and celebrated by Haole as the will of a Christian God. By the 1880s, most of our lands were owned by these same white American foreigners who had convinced our chiefs that private property would give our people everlasting physical life. In 1893, when Hawaiians were but 5% of what they had been at contact, and when most of our arable lands were in the hands of foreigners, the American Marines invaded and occupied our country, overthrew and imprisoned our chiefly leaders, and forcibly took Hawaii. In 1898, we were annexed to the United States against the wishes of the Hawaiian people. By 1900, all Hawaiian language schools were closed. Political and economic life was dictated by the Haole, and American institutions overtook the last vestiges of Hawaiian culture. From this point forward into the 20th century, Hawaiians became increasingly like other native peoples, conquered and subordinated in their own homeland. Now we suffer a declining population, continued land dispossession, and ongoing destruction of our cultural ways. As a nation and a people, Hawaiians are no longer self-determining. For Hawaiians, American colonialism has been a violent process. The violence of mass death, the violence of American missionizing, the violence of cultural destruction, the violence of the American military. Once the United States annexed my homeland, a new kind of violence took place, the violence of educational colonialism, where foreign Haole values replace Native Hawaiian values, where schools like the University of Hawaii ridicule Hawaiian culture and praise American culture, and where white men assume the mantle of authority, deciding what is taught, who can teach, even what can be said, written, and published. In colony Hawaii, the university stands atop the educational pyramid of the state. People of color comprise over 70% of the student body, while the faculty are over 70% Haole. For Hawaiians, the situation is worse. 13 tenured Hawaiian faculty compare with nearly 660 tenured Haole faculty. This situation is called institutional racism.